We're going to give this a few more minutes just for a few more people to join us.
Right at this moment in Adams, it's very busy with the weather coming in.
Yeah, it's going to hit us pretty hard in a few minutes, I think.
Yep.
So Mark, any idea how many people are going to join us? Have you heard back from people?
I have no idea. We've had pretty good turnout at the team meetings, so hopefully we'll get a few more beyond that as well.
I'll be right back.
Do you all see the PowerPoint slide?
Yep.
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
Laura, can you see the messages I just sent?
Yes.
Great.
It's just 5 o'clock now, so another minute or two will let people join.
Really blowing up quite a storm out there.
All right, everyone, we're going to keep going and hopefully we have a few more people join us over the next few minutes. So welcome to the Adams Local Rapid Recovery Plan Community Conversation. My name is Mark Malloy. I'm with the Berkshire Regional Planning Commission. I will be talking with you today about the process for this project and soliciting your ideas for future projects. This meeting is being recorded and will be made available for those who are unable to participate. We were hoping to broadcast it on Facebook Live, but we had some technical issues, so that is not happening, unfortunately, but we will post it on Facebook later. I do want to acknowledge Downtown Adams, which have applied for this grant, as well as Pro Adams and Town of Adams have been helping out in collecting the data and project idea creation. So our agenda for today is to go over what is an LRRP, look at the data we have collected through both fieldwork and a business survey, review the key findings, and then we will open it up to all of you for your ideas. We will then close with what the next steps are for this project. So first, a brief description of the local rapid recovery planning process. This is a statewide program being administered by the Department of Housing and Community Development, or DHCD. It was open to all communities and 125 towns and cities opted in. They were then paired with plan facilitators, which is where BRPC comes in. The process is broken out into 3 phases, as you can see here. Our diagnostic phase has drawn to a close, and we'll be going over those results today. We'll now be moving into the plan development phase, where we focus on 10 viable projects. We'll be prioritizing quick, low-cost interventions in this program, things that can be implemented in a 3 to 12-month timeframe. It's important to note that this grant does not include funding sources to make these projects happen. We also, at this point, it's strictly planning of the projects. Part of our work will be to identify potential funding sources to make these projects happen. We're also expecting that the state will consider the types of projects we identify as they shape the next rounds of COVID-related assistance offerings. You can see on the right a map of the study area. It includes the Park and Summer Street commercial corridors, as well as Myrtle, Pleasant, Depot, and Spring Street areas. Other major features in the downtown include the Chapultepec Rail Trail and the Hoosick River. We will now share the results from our data collection specific to the area we just looked at. The state has divided data collection into 4 categories: customer base, physical environment, administrative capacity, and business environment. So we're going to start with the customer base. In terms of residents in the downtown area, we calculated an estimated population of 695, or 8% of the town live downtown. On this slide, you will see that this group is slightly older than Adams as a whole, has a significantly lower median household income, and has a smaller household size. The downtown population also tends to be a bit more diverse, but also less educated, with less residents having college degrees. Although the intention of the local rapid recovery planning effort is focused on improving conditions for downtown businesses, it is worth noting that these residents will also be positively affected by the projects we select, and that the whole community benefits from the increases in tax revenue. Now we'll look at the assessment of the physical environment within the study area. Initially, we will focus on the public realm. The public realm is anything outside of private ownership or control and accessible by members of the public. One way to visualize this would be anything from the base of a building where it meets the sidewalk out towards and including the street in front of it. In BRPC's assessment of the public realm, we found a range of conditions, as you'll see here. Some elements received an A grade, which means they're doing great. Other ones may have received a B or C grade, and which means there's some improvements that are needed. Overall, the lighting was good. There's a few spots where it is needs a little bit of improvement, but overall that was good. The sidewalks, roadbed, and crosswalks are okay, but they could be improved and be more pedestrian friendly, especially along Depot, Pleasant, and Myrtle Street. There's not really a great pedestrian environment there. There was also a lack of street trees throughout the area. A few benches, but not a lot. There's not great wayfinding signage, and what we do have is mostly oriented towards vehicles and not to pedestrians who might be, walking around the downtown. Parking overall seems sufficient for the number of businesses in the area. There are also several significant public space areas. You have Armory Court, the Chapultepec Rail Trail, the Pleasant Street Park, and the Adams Visitor Center. And then you also have parklets on the corner of Summer and Victory, and Columbia and Hoosick. Slide is the first that looks at the survey results. The survey was open for around 3 weeks, and it was promoted on social media, direct outreach, and paper flyers to local businesses. This was not a general residential survey. It was really focused on the businesses. We received 19 responses, which is around 26% of all the businesses in the downtown area. While this does not represent a majority of establishments in the study area, we do consider the responses to be indicative of the overall experience downtown. This specific slide shows the results from the business survey related to the physical environment in the public realm. Respondents were asked to rate their satisfaction with elements of the current condition downtown. Overall, businesses view the public spaces, streets, sidewalks as okay. Not amazing, but overall pretty good. We also attempted to gauge the degree of interest in various strategies to improve the downtown experience. They overall felt everything related to the public realm was, again, okay. Maybe a little bit more development of the public spaces and seating areas could be done. Now, if we change and look at the private realm, which is the buildings, things weren't quite as good as the public realm. Outdoor displays, dining, signage, awning, facades, lighting, all need significant improvements. Many of the buildings are run down, the awnings and building lights are old and worn, and a lot of them are not functioning anymore. Park Street was mostly okay. You have a few buildings that aren't in great shape, but overall it's okay. But Summer Street and some of the other streets, you definitely have some areas that could be improved. In terms of the business survey, the businesses reported a slightly lower level of satisfaction for the condition of storefronts and signs in private buildings. However, they do feel safe and comfortable, which is great. They also felt there was a need for more outdoor dining and selling and for renovation of storefronts and building facades. So just in these last couple slides, we started to see some common themes starting to emerge from both the site visits as well as the business surveys. So that's really going to influence some of the projects that we come up with as we move forward. We'll now look at the business environment. So there are 72 active businesses in the study area with an additional 43 vacant storefronts and offices. This is a very high number and a high percentage of vacant businesses. Rent is also very affordable, especially compared to the surrounding communities, which is several dollars more, if not double, triple the price of space in Adams. The business mix could be a bit more diverse with more retail accommodations and food services. From the survey, businesses reported a need for more complementary businesses, which ties back in with that business mix from the previous slide. They also think there is a need for a recruitment program for new businesses. We also asked businesses how COVID impacted their operations over the last year. Close to half of the businesses that responded to the survey reported a loss of revenue due to COVID-19. However, 20% saw an increase in revenue. So, there's a little good side to that. Overall, half of businesses reported less customers on site, but of course, that's not really a surprise given the lockdown from COVID. Due to COVID, businesses reported having to reduce hours, reduce their capacity, lay off employees, close businesses both permanently and temporarily, and they incurred expenses to implement safety measures. All of these tie in with reduction in foot traffic, reduction in revenue. So there's definitely been some impact and some business impact over the last year. We will now look at the administrative capacity of the organizations in town. The downtown area is served by 3 organizations, the Town of Adams, Pro Adams, and Downtown Adams. Pro Adams is the nonprofit, and Downtown Adams is a volunteer-based organization. Each has their own unique skills and responsibilities. However, they all have challenges with staffing and finances. These 3 organizations will act as the stewards for many of the projects that get developed throughout this plan. I'll also mention that the town has, both previously and currently, several other organizations that have contributed to downtown. There's the Adams Events Committee, the Arts Committee, Thunderbolt ski runners, not so much downtown, but they do have some involvement, all of which have a role in revitalizing Adams and downtown Adams. Businesses also report that they would like to see more cultural events and activities. Bringing, these activities bring people to the district. And they also are looking at or are interested in more of a unified marketing strategy for the district. They do report zoning and other regulations. They're pretty good. Doesn't mean we can't review them and see if any improvements could be made. There's also some interest in a district management entity, but I think that needs to have further examination over the next few months at least. The survey also asked what type of regulations need improvement. Overall, businesses did not think the regs needed too much work. Maybe with the licensing, permitting, signage, parking, a little bit of tweaking, but overall it wasn't too bad. So that completes the data collection and survey portion of the presentation. And what we want to do now is dig into some of the key findings from all this data and the site work we did. To begin with, there is a lack of connectivity between the major features of downtown. We have Park Street, the Schwiltercook, the Hoosick River, and Summer Street. All of them are important parts of downtown, but nothing really ties them together. There's no signage directing anyone to any of the other areas. Bringing them into a more unified district would help improve the business environment, bring more people, make people more aware of what else is out there. In addition, the southern entryway to the downtown, that's the Center Street, Commercial, Myrtle Street intersection where your stoplight is, it's not very visually appealing. There's a lot of concrete, not much vegetation. It's very vehicle focused, really getting people through town and not, attracting them to the downtown. Throughout the area, there's also a lack of coordinated pedestrian-focused signage or wayfinding to, again, direct people to various business and attractions. And then we also need visual improvements throughout, whether it's building facades and signage, the actual street and sidewalks through Depot, Armory, Pleasant, and Myrtle. Various plantings throughout town could be improved. There's not a lot of street trees. And then additionally, the town could use more public art through murals, sculptures, street painting, etc. In addition to that, there's a lack of attractions to bring people to the downtown. Town needs more diversity or needs to diversify its business mix and provide lifestyle experiences that people will go out of the way to seek. Town could have more events focused on downtown, both large events to generate interest, small events to keep people coming back. And then managing everything downtown is also very uncoordinated right now between the various organizations. Sometimes they're at odds with each other. So trying to coordinate that and work on improving the messaging, I think, could be helpful. Finally, the regulations could be reviewed just to see if there's any improvements that could make it a bit easier for businesses in the downtown area. So those are the major findings we have developed so far. So at this point, we want to hear from you. What can be done to help downtown Adams recover economically from the pandemic? We're looking for quick, low-cost interventions that can be implemented in the next 3 to 12 months. So feel free to speak up right now. You could also go online. There's a link there for SurveyMonkey where you could just enter in your ideas if you don't want to actually speak up in the meeting. So go ahead and any ideas you have, let us know and we'll jot them down.
My name is Glenn Deal. Part of what I do in town is I'm the station master for Berkshire Scenic Railway. It brings tourists into town. One of the difficulties I have had was they get here, they park, they ride the train, there's nothing to do. So they go back in their car and then they go to North Adams or down to Lenox or someplace like that. They're always asking for, or very frequently, the question becomes, where can I get lunch or dinner? So Ray Gargan and I created a map, about 3 years ago now, showed all the restaurants downtown. So when my passengers, my people on the train asked that question about where to go for lunch, I hand them a map of town downtown, and it it shows the Park Street area and all the way up to the Summer Street area. It's and out to McDonald's, and it on the northern end it goes about as far as Angelina's, with references to the other restaurants that are further north, like well, the furthest one north of course, is Bounty Fair. But that's been a help. It keeps people in town for a little bit longer.
Great. Any other thoughts from people on projects we could work on?
Well, I do have another.
Go ahead.
Some of the people that come ride the train show up in electric vehicles. We have no EV charging stations in town. The nearest are up at MCLA in North Adams. I believe there's 2 up there. And then to the south, they're down in Pittsfield, and I think there's 4. Over in Williamstown, there are 24. I contacted a company that provides EV charging stations, and they will install them free of charge. All we have to do is provide the spot. To me, that's a no-brainer, because the people that are driving electric cars right now, and you have to think about Teslas and things like that, but they tend to be on the higher end earnings wise. But then on the other hand, over the next few years, more and more automakers are going to be producing electric vehicles. Ford is building an electric F-150 now. So there's going to become a demand for charging stations. And it seems to me that it would be a really nice idea to have a bunch of them, especially if the cost is low to install. And the equipment cost, by the way, if a business is buying one from Blink, for instance, it's about $1,800. And then the cost to install it. But Blink will also install them. They take a little bit off the top. It looks for all the world like a parking meter. Now that would draw people into town and give them a reason to stay for an hour and a half or 2 hours.
Good idea.
Hi, Mark.
Yeah.
I'm Lori Kaczynski. I own Marikai Salon over on Summer Street. What about putting up some signage? It seems like Route 8 generally tends to be the main thoroughfare through the town. But for the businesses like mine over on Summer Street, I think we kind of tend to get passed by, especially by people who don't know the area because they don't realize that it's a second business district. So maybe we could do signs, even if they weren't for each individual business, but just kind of pointing people in the direction that there is another kind of main street, if you will, where there are other businesses that are over there. I think that might be helpful too.
Yep, I think that would be beneficial as well.
Excellent.
Mark, just to piggyback on what Lori was sharing about, and to kind of feed into what Glenn was sharing too, with people coming in with the train. We've got a new donut shop on Summer Street, which is a great place for people to hit. It's open Monday through Sunday right now. But we've also got the Rainbow Shack there,
Yes.
right about across from where Lucy's at, which is also another huge hit for locals, but would be awesome for, directing people from the train out to that way.
Yeah, I do that now. The map that Ray Gargan and I created shows the Rainbow Shack on it, for instance. But it was before Shire Donuts was there. So he and I are talking about updating it. But I would like to create a large view of it. It's now on an 8.5 by 11 sheet. It could be expanded and put on one of the kiosks that whatever kiosks we have in town. One of the pictures in this presentation was an empty kiosk that's right behind, right over on Armory Court. There's nothing in that. That's a perfect place to have a map, a simple map that shows especially the eating establishments, but we could also show other retail establishments. And that one is really easy to do.
Yeah, I think, Glenn, we should definitely look to expand that to include some retail, or all the retail that there is, and also working on distributing it further. In addition to posting the map at that kiosk, we could actually have a little brochure box that people could take the map.
Yeah, right.
And that could be also up at Greylock Glen, where there are thousands of people going.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I've talked a bit with Donna Sheehan about that, and I think she'd be happy to support that.
Good.
Great. Any other ideas?
Hi, Mark, it's Davebazillion.
Dave.
I guess with my Pro Adams hat on right now. This conversation now is, we're trying to add to some of the original projects that came up through the past couple of weeks of efforts of feedback from businesses and others that we already have kind of teed up.
Yeah, so, we just want to make sure that, we get ideas from the public that
Right.
is not being influenced by the ideas
Okay.
that the organizations have come up. We're going to combine them all, and then we will
Okay.
prioritize and narrow it down. Yeah.
Okay, so we're just trying to add to that list, if you will, or, okay.
Exactly.
I just wanted to be clear on kind of what the process was right now. So thank you.
Are there any other ideas? Not hearing any. I can tell you we currently have a list of around 80 different projects. We're gonna have to narrow that down a lot, down to around 10. We're gonna start working on that probably next week. And these projects range from signage and wayfinding to street improvements, facade and signage programs, business planning, helping startup businesses, looking at regulations, wide variety of things we're looking at, more outdoor dining, more plantings around town. So it's a wide variety of things that are on these lists. And again, if you think of any ideas, the link is there on the screen, and you can submit those ideas over the next few days.
Mark, I got a couple things I might as well add while we're here. and I don't know if this is, I know we're thinking downtown area. But it'd be great to have like a street light or something at least where the road crossing is with the rail trail on Park Street. Ideally, I thought it would be great to do a little tunnel underneath. I was on the rail trail in Northampton the other day, and they've got these tunnels that go under the major highways and stuff. And I think that's probably a little bit bigger than what we're looking at here. But even if we got a light like we have at Cheshire Lake, it's a blind corner, and even if we, you talked about, brick inlay and stuff like that, made it a fancier crosswalk, a little bit more noticeable, maybe with some lights along the edges. But I think a street light where people are, maybe even if it links with the one on where people turn from Route 8 and make that almost 90-degree turn there. It's just a blind corner, and it's just a scary area for families, especially with people trying to cross. That might be another good project that would, benefit on a number of different levels.
Yep.
Yeah, that's that particular corner is very tough. I've seen too many close calls there,
Mhm.
especially kids on bicycles. It gets too close sometimes.
Right. And it's not the driver's fault either. It's just a blind corner. And I always feel bad. We inch our way out with my family and, try not to scare the cars, and people slam their brakes on when they see us.
We have the same issue over on Summer Street, especially now that the Rainbow Shack is open. The inflow of foot traffic has increased tenfold. So the kids are there and there's traffic parked on both sides. So even if we could brighten up the crosswalks over on Summer Street too, that would probably be very helpful as well.
Oh, brings up an interesting thing. The town looks old to a lot of people driving through because it looks worn. And if they're driving through, what is the most obvious thing that's worn? It's the lane markings. It looks like the town doesn't care. It's like, let's put it this in the vernacular of a real estate agent, it doesn't give the town curb appeal. If we're selling our house, we paint it up and make it look good. If we're trying to sell a town, let's at least keep the lane markings bright.
Yep, that's a good point.
It's also a safety issue.
Well, all right. We just have one more slide. Billy, thank you. The next step of this project involves narrowing down the project list and really starting to dig into the details for each of the 10 to 15 projects we select. We plan to have another public meeting at the end of June, where we will review the 10 to 15 chosen projects, get your feedback on those. I think that's going to be an in-person meeting. It'd be a big change for the last year, but hopefully we can do it in person. And then after we get your feedback, we'll develop them into a plan that the organizations and Adams can use. And we'll move forward from there. So that's all I have at this time. So thank you for coming. And we look forward to hearing more of your ideas. Again, you can submit any ideas directly to me or on that Survey Monkey link. So that's it. And thank you all.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Mark.
Thanks.
Thank you.